Hello again and welcome back. My name's Annie and this is my creative detour. I'd like to say a special hello today to anybody who is new, and I hope you enjoy the video, and hello to all my regulars and my subscribers. Thank you for coming back time and time again. I really appreciate it. Now today we're going on with Junk Journal January 2026, and now for those of you that have been following along, you would know that I bundle some of my prompts together. And today we're going on with prompts number 19 through to 24. So I'll read them out for you. It's time, mindful, collected, trim, layers, and blank. So I'll be doing a composition with all 6 of those prompts in it. And this challenge is ran by Creativity and Coffee. So I will have her link below. So if you'd like to find out a little bit more about it, it's not too late to join. You can pick out whatever you want to do. So just follow the link below and it will take you to the information for you to get your hands on it. And also I'll have the hashtag below for you to have a look at all of the other people that are participating in the challenge. So have a look at that. But today I'll just do a quick recap. This was prompts number 1 to 6, and we've got a composition telling a story about an old property in Italy on the Amalfi Coast. And the next one, that was prompts 7 to 12. This is of Tracy. She has had a very difficult week at work and has thrown all the papers into the air and said, I'm over it, it's time for the weekend. And then the last one, we had a forager who was going foraging for a lot of mushrooms and came back and filled in her foraging journal with all of the things that she found while she was out foraging. So today we head over to the back of my journal because the journal is an accordion journal. So we're heading on to the back now and we're going to do our 6 prompts. So let me get set up and I'll show you what our materials are. Now I have quite a bundle here of things that we're going to be working with, and I have come up with a sentiment. Now, like I said, our prompts are time, mindful, collected, trim, layers, and blank. So I'm putting together a little bit of a story. It's probably a bit of self-reflection, really, of where I'm heading this year, of making time for things and being more mindful of my time that I have and how I allocate time to different things. So I'm going to be layering up, and layers is one of our prompts. So you can see I found some lovely magazine pages that have some very peaceful and calm watercolored mountains in the background, and I thought, when I'm being a little bit more mindful and relaxed and calm, I love to watercolor. So that really tapped into what I like doing to unwind. So what I did was I dropped down a little bit of watercolor. So I just did some watercolor washes and made some layers to cover up the text that was on the page. And you can see here that I've got some other ones made as well for this side that we're going to put on, and it's creating layers. And then I have collected moments in time, important moments that we want to cherish and be present in. And so that's one of the things that I'm focusing on this year, is watching my time, being more present and more deliberate with the things that I'm doing and living my life in that moment. And I've put together a little sentiment here that pulls out the 6 prompts. And it says, collected layers, a mindful use of blank time, trimmed with joy. Because those moments that we catch ourselves and go, I'm just loving this moment in time, and you're very present in those moments. They bring you the greatest joy. And that's what I want to make this composition about today. So I'm going to tuck in some of these images here. I'm going to do a little bit of pen work on it, but you'll see that I have quite a few blank pages as well. And that's because there's moments in the coming year that I want to make sure that I stop what I'm doing and I'm more present in that moment and putting aside the things that I think are really important but are not as important. So that's what the composition's going to be about. I will load it up with some pen work towards the end and decorate it a little bit more and pull out important bits and make a feature of them. But that's the general idea and direction. So we'll start by prepping our page and getting our backdrop down, and then we'll start loading up the layers. Okay, so I've just pulled out a little piece of washi tape, and it's from All and Create, and the number is MT40 if you're interested, and it's got lots of words on it that are appropriate, like laughter, discovery, focus, choose, childhood, breathe, strength, grow, all those sorts of things that are on it. So it's pretty relevant to what the direction of the page is about. I'll just put a little bit of extra glue on, and I'm just going to put that down the middle of the join just to give the fold a little bit of extra strength in my journal. I hope you're all doing well and have had a nice weekend. I had a lovely weekend because it's actually a long weekend here in Australia. It's Australia Day today. So happy Australia Day to all my fellow Aussies out there. I wish you a very happy day, a day celebrating with family and friends. We had a little bit of a get-together last night, actually. And it was one of those moments that I'm talking to you about. I was prepping and finding some resources for this composition, and my daughter came to me and said, "Oh, we're making homemade pizzas tonight. Would you and Dad like to come for dinner?" And I said, "Oh, darling, that would be lovely." She'd made the pizza dough, and they have a pizza oven on their back deck. And the children, my grandchildren, were very excited because they were able to put their own things on their own pizza. And so in my mind, I was thinking, oh, I need to get organized for my video. But I checked myself and thought, no, the video can wait. It won't matter if it's out a little bit late or even a day late. It's more important to do this. So we had a lovely family dinner together, making all of our own pizzas, and son-in-law cooked them in the pizza oven. They were absolutely delicious and crispy. My daughter had done an amazing job of making this really crispy pizza base. I think I've mentioned it before. I'm a very good cook. I'm a cook, I'm not a baker. I don't really measure anything. I go by instinct. Whereas my daughter, she says that she's not a very good cook, but she knows how to bake, and man, does she know how to bake. She cooks the most beautiful cakes and anything to do with measuring out. So like pizza dough is a precise measuring thing. She made the best pizza dough, but she can bake the most amazing cakes and anything to do with pastry. She makes beautiful Christmas cake that the whole family loves, and amazing fruit mince tarts. As soon as the hot fruit mince tarts come out, we're all hovering around wanting to get them when they're fresh. So there we go. I've got the base down. I've just glued down my magazine pages onto my journal pages. Nothing overly difficult. So the next step is for us to put down our watercolour washes, and I want to just edge them a little bit so that the edge shows, so you can see that there are layers. So I'm going to put on just a little bit of Distress ink, and I think I'll put on, what have we got? I've got Evergreen Bow, Bundled Sage, and some Lost Shadow I think I'll use. Yes, so we had a lovely night doing some homemade pizzas, and of course I overloaded mine with too many toppings and it wouldn't slide on the paddle very well. Everyone else, theirs slid nicely because they didn't put too much on it. It wasn't that I did, too much volume. It was more that I had done too many different varieties of things, a small amount of lots of things, which then put too much weight onto it, and my pizza wouldn't slide on the paddle. Everyone else sort of went for like a type of pizza, like a ham and pineapple with, barbecue sauce or something like that. Well, I didn't really do that. I wanted to have a supreme pizza with different toppings, a little bit of lots of different stuff on it, and that then put too much weight. But we figured it out and it was delicious, and I've got leftovers for lunch today. So that's always a bonus. And the kids love it so much, doing, those sorts of unusual family things on the weekend that you don't always get to do during the week with school and commitments and everything. All right, I'm liking that. It's just adding a little bit of depth to it. I will get some vintage photo out and just do these foreground ones. Yes, we were all sitting around then talking about all the things that are coming up, including our family cruise. So we've got family and friends going on a cruise together for my husband's big birthday that's coming up. That was good. We were planning a few things of what we were going to be doing. Okay, so you can see I've just put a little bit of ink on the edges of those so that they stand out a little bit more. And we're going to now glue those down and make pockets so that I can tuck my images into. So let's do that. I'll get out the art glitter glue. So yes, we've got a cruise coming up, and then after our cruise we head over to Europe, my husband and I, and we're going on a European trip, and we're going to be spending quite a bit of time with my son who lives in Europe. So that will be absolutely fabulous, because I think that you all know that I love traveling. I'm hoping to doing a little bit of thrifting, because the other times that I've been to Europe, I haven't really done any thrifting, but I would like to this time over. See if I can find a few unusual bits and pieces, and then when I come back I can do a whole video and show you all my things that I've found whilst rummaging on the other side of the world. If you'd like to see that on the channel, put a comment below and say, yes Annie, we'd like to see what you buy in Europe. I can definitely do that. Okay, so I've got those glued down. I've left these ones off because I think I'd like to just do a little bit of stamping on these. So let's get a stamp out. Okay, I've found this retired stamp from Stampin' Up, and it's called Lighthouse Point, and I just want to do some of these little blobs. So let's just do a little bit of stamping on our pockets, and I'm going to just use Distress ink, which is not ideal, but it will be fine. I'm not wanting it to be overly dominant, so I'm just going to stamp a few little rocks around. I'll mask that off a little bit and stamp some frayed burlap on this one. Yes, that's okay. Just adds a little bit of grounding. Alright, let's do the other side. And I'm just going to put a little bit of ink on the side of this. I missed it a little bit down the bottom there. So we're going to be away for about 6 weeks, something like that. And so I'm going to have to start videoing a lot of videos in advance so that there's some things that can happen while I'm away. So I'm currently trying to work out some of those things. If there's anything in particular you'd like me to do, I can definitely do some particular things if people ask for them. So for example, if you'd like to see me do something in my packaging journal, or in my new favorites journal, or in my monochromatic journal, and so on, just leave a comment below and or if you'd like me to do some more junk journal gestures, little gestures to go in journals, I can do that. But that's one of the reasons why I'm not participating in very many challenges, because it's not only being away for the 6 weeks that limits my ability to participate, it's the preparation beforehand of getting extra videos done before I go, and the time to do that, along with life. Okay, so you can see that I have finished the pockets. I've let them dry, and I've had a little bit of a play with where I'd like to put some things in. And I don't particularly want them all to just sit flat. I want them to curl up a little bit. So what I think I'll do is, I think I'll just glue the center pieces so that they sit where I want them to sit, and then I'll do some line work around them. So I'll just pop a little bit of ink on them so they look a little bit older. And the images that I've got, most of them just from Raw Pixel, which is somewhere where you can go and get some royalty-free images. So I'll put the link below for those of you that have not heard of it before. I have chatted about Raw Pixel before on the channel, and I sometimes get things from there. I've just got a few images that represent different important moments for me. I'm just going to tuck in a few things. This one here is of a swimmer. When I was little, I did swimming, and my brother and I would go to swimming, and we swam quite a lot actually. My dad was adamant that we both had to be proficient swimmers, which I am now into my adult life. I'm very grateful that that was one of the things that he was adamant about. So thank you, Dad. Even though I don't swim very often, when I do swim, I swim quite well. I've got a very good stroke. It's been honed, and I've been taught how to swim correctly and efficiently. I just need to do it more often, don't I? So now these ones here, I'll come to those in a moment, because I want to put a few marks on the pockets. So I'm going to just put a little bit of line work on a few spots to emphasize a few things. And I'm going to put line work onto the edge of the pockets. I'm going to trim the edge of the pockets with a little bit of detailing. So I thought I might do a little bit of cross hatching into some emotive words. So here I've just written peaceful and calm, and then I'll do a little bit more cross hatching into some dots and a line. And here I'm going to do time for me into a line. So I'm just trimming the edges of the pockets with something that is relevant to the image. So that one can glue down now. And this bottom one I'm going to just do cross hatching across the bottom here, because the main sentiment's going to go on. So like I said, I'm just trimming the edge of the pocket with some line work. That's good. And we'll do the same on this side. So they're all words that speak to being mindful and grateful. This image here of these older ladies in their vintage clothing to remind me of the lovely ladies of my family that have helped shape me. And I often speak of some of my great aunts and aunties. That's what that's about. And some images of friendship. And you can see that I'm weighting most of the photos over on this side. And that's because I want to leave some blank ones on the other page. And we've got a lovely picture here of Big Ben, because travel is probably my biggest passion. So we've got Rome, Paris and London in there. And the reason I put Rome, Paris and London in there is because that was my husband and I's very first trip to Europe. We'd been to America and we'd been to other places, but I'd wanted to go to Europe for so very long, and it was very emotional for me, actually, finally going to Europe. And when we went to Europe, we went on a couple of cruises and went to lots of different places, but we spent most of our time in those three main cities. And so that was a super special moment for me, that I did stop and smell the roses, as they say. I was very present in the moment. Now I'm just going to do a little bit of cross hatching again to trim the edge of this pocket with a bit of line work. And they get bigger and move into a line. And we'll do a little bit of line work over here. Okay, so we've got our photos stacked in here of all important moments. And now what I'd like to do is position some of these blank ones in, because we need to leave some space for blank opportunities, because blank is one of our prompts, but also we're wanting to have some blank spaces for putting in some more memories and special moments. Okay, so I'm going to glue those in, and let's just have a little look at what our title looks like. It fades in a little bit, which is what I wanted. So I've just inked the edges of that sentiment, so we'll glue it on. And I want it to go over onto here. And now we can glue the other side on. And I'm just going to go around the edge of this to ground it. Now, does it need any splatters? I think it needs a few white splatters. Let's clear the decks and set up the table, and we'll do a few white splatters together, and then we'll have a final look. Okay, so I'm using Liquitex acrylic ink, and I'm not using my big fan brush because it seems to go in further places. It's not so controllable. Okay, there we go. We've got a few white splatters on it. Not a lot, but just a few. Now let's have a little look at what I carried over. So as some of you would know, I like to carry something over from the previous page. And I'll show you what I carried over with the other ones over here. So on the first page, I did some stenciling in the background here, all the way around both pages. Well, I carried that stencil over into this composition in the unfinished bit of the wall in the background. And then on the next composition, I carried over all little bits of papers that were flying in the air, floating in the air in the forest. And that was because Tracy here, she had thrown all her papers up into the air in the office when she'd had enough and was ready to go home. So I then carried floating papers into the air, and those papers became these little rectangular images. So for this week, I carried over little rectangular images into my next composition. You can see now I have lots of little rectangular images that are on this page. So there's a link. But let's have a little look at what our prompts were. We have time, and my time is the focus of this. It's about using up my blank time or my spare time, and blank is one of the prompts as well. So being very mindful, and mindful is one of the prompts. So I'm being very mindful of my time and the time that I waste, that I'm not doing anything productive, using that time to be more purposeful and taking the opportunity to enjoy those moments more, whether that's taking time to play and experiment with my craft and my art, or whether that's being more present with the grandchildren or whatever. This year I've decided that I'm going to be more focused with using time better. I'm not meaning that I'm going to make myself busy. I'm actually going to do the opposite. I'm going to be more present in the time that is not consumed with something already, like work or a dedicated appointment of some sort. The other time, I'm going to use it more purposefully and more mindfully to fill my creative tank and to give me joy. So we also have collected, and you can see that I have collected lots of images here. Another one is trim. So you can see that I've trimmed the edges of the pockets that I laid up, but I'm trimming the moments with joy is the other trim that I'm using. And we've got layers as well. So lots of layers of time, layers of pockets and materials that are layered on top of each other, and layers of photos and memories. So let me read you the sentiment again. So I've put collected, layers, a mindful use of blank time, trimmed with joy. So let's have a close-up. So I'm really happy with that. It speaks to where I'm at the moment. It is really a visual, artistic entry of how I'm feeling at the moment. So there we go. Hopefully you can see that relatively well and all the layers. Thank you so much for joining me today. I'm happy with how things went. I'm happy that I was able to visually convey my emotions at the moment about certain things that are going on and my goals and direction for the year. This is a really good visual representation of how I'm feeling and where I'm heading. So thanks for stopping by. I really appreciate you spending the time watching the video. If you like the video and you like the composition and the story behind it, give me a thumbs up. That would be wonderful. And think about subscribing to the channel, and leave a comment below if some of this is where you're at the moment. I'd love to know whether other people are struggling with just finding time to refill the tank and find time to just play because of the busyness of our lives. So yeah, leave a comment below whether it resonates with you. That would be wonderful to hear. Otherwise, I hope you all have a really great week, and I will see you again on Thursday with another project. Thanks again for watching, everybody. Bye for now.